Hello, you sexy alien, and welcome to your badass weekly horoscope for the week ahead, September 1st to September 7th. September's already starting us, okay, with a lot. Okay, September is a very busy and potentially life-changing month for many people. Not only is it eclipse season, but there's just so much going on, okay? There's so much going on that's so important. I even kind of wrote down here that some of the big themes I'm really getting for September is like perception is everything. Okay, perception is everything with Mercury being in its domicile and its exaltation in Virgo. Like, there are no problems, there's only perception. Alrighty. But also, not only that, is like the first start of the month is very different than the end of the month because of everything that we have happening. There are tons and tons of breakthroughs to be had this month, and we then are probably likely going to face some of those breakthroughs. Like, we're going to have breakthroughs, and then we're going to get to like a period of time where we're kind of tested on those breakthroughs. Can we hold the breakthrough in the face of uncertainty, in the face of the unknown? And what I'm really feeling intuitively about September, and this does definitely make sense like by the end of September, but what I'm really feeling about September and really these last few months of 2025, I'm really feeling that 9-year energy, right? Because in numerology, 2025 is a 9-year. This is a year, and it's so funny because I don't know if I really took that into consideration in my yearly horoscopes for this year and my year ahead predictions and all of that, but it makes so much sense with my predictions for this year. I literally said this was going to be a year where we were in between an old life in the past and what's happened previously, what's happened in a different era of our lives versus a whole new life, a whole new chapter, a whole new paradigm that's like being birthed, okay? Now, I did say that, and I do know that this year has been more of a focus on the old. It's almost like the universe is really making sure that things are cleaned up, swept away, released, forgiven, healed, purged, surrendered to, etc., before we move on. So I know many people have had their lives kind of rearranged this year. Maybe I know that many people have kind of come back to problems and patterns that they've had, in the past, coming back around. And this is all happening for us to face these things, right? I know many people have had people leave their lives, come into their lives, all of these things. But I think that the underlying energy for all of it is kind of this excitement because we feel like we're on the verge of something new. We feel like there's something new coming. There's something new on the horizon, but we're like closing out these old chapters to prepare for something that we may not all have an idea of yet, or we may not all completely know what it's going to look like yet. And that's kind of part of it. And that's part of this week, actually, is really like embracing the unknown and accepting the unknown and seeing how everything is interconnected with this Pisces Lunar Eclipse energy, which is going to be really kind of the underlying vibe of this whole week, where I want you to really start looking for this Pisces lunar eclipse. And there will be a video coming specifically for the lunar eclipse itself and the horoscopes for each sign. But I am going to talk about what I'm feeling so far for it in this video as well. Okay, so I don't want to waste any more time. I'm going to pull up the chart. We have so much going on this week. September is starting off with a bang. Literally, like, we just have so many interesting transits this week that I want to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into the charts. Alrighty, you should be able to see the chart up on the screen now, so we can kind of go over all of this together, all of this very exciting energy. There is this sense of like electricity in the air. There is this sense of like something new is coming, or there is some kind of shift happening, or there's some kind of big breakthrough that like we're right on the edge of. Like, a lot of people are feeling right on the edge, and it's like, I really feel like this week is going to be kind of like the download of like some last or final codes or lessons that we need in order to move past this next edge that we're on, in order for us to keep going, in order for us to see what's next. And so many people can feel like they're coming back to something, or they're doing something that they've done before, or they're doing it in a different way this time, or whatever the case may be. There's not like a ton of newness happening right now, especially with all the retrogrades and Saturn, retrograding back into Pisces, which starts literally right on September 1st. So the day that I'm filming this, Monday, Saturn retrograded back into Pisces today. And this also tells me that before we can really start this new paradigm of whatever this Aries part of our chart, Aries energy is going to be Saturn, Neptune, and Aries energy is really going to bring to fruition. A lot of the times first we have to like go back. So Saturn is moving back into Pisces to basically say, hey bitch, wake up, I'm back. There's something here that we've got to like really make sure that we download into our being before I'm done with you. Okay. That is basically Saturn. He's like coming back, giving you a little universal spanking on the ass and saying, okay, look, there are some more things to let go of. And I understand as somebody that does a lot of healing on myself and has been on this healing journey for so freaking long, it can feel so damn cyclical and it can feel so damn repetitive at times. It's like, oh my God, like self-worth wounds again. Oh my God, it's really that I don't feel good enough again. Oh my God, it's that I have this issue with my, masculine or my feminine again. Like, and it's like, yes, because this journey is cyclical. Like it's taken us our whole lives to accumulate all of this gunk, all of this self-doubt, all of this conditioning, all of these perceptions and subconscious beliefs that have hypnotized our way of seeing the world and who we are and those around us and our lives. It's like, that's not just going to go away within, a year or several years of being on a healing journey, like however long it's been for you, right? Been on my healing journey since pretty much 2016, 2017, and so it's like, this is stuff that's been so ingrained in us from a very young age, from childhood. So something that I know for me, because I have Chiron on my Leo ascendant, something I know for me that I've really had to accept is that this whole journey, this whole life for me is going to be about healing. And the quicker that I can freaking accept that and the quicker that I can get hip to that, the better my life is going to go. Because if I'm always just like, oh, I'm sick of healing, like don't get me wrong, I do get breaks from it. Because there are certain times where it's like, okay, I've healed enough or I've worked on myself enough or I've gotten to this point where it's like, it's no longer healthy for me to continue to find whatever's missing or wrong or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm enough just as I am. And I'm, I don't need to keep picking it apart. I don't need to keep, diving deep into my shadows and all of this stuff. Like, it's time to go. So there are times for like going full speed ahead and basically, showing off what you've learned. And then there are times where it's like riding a bike. There are times like you first learn to ride a bike and then you go off into the world and then you show, you show off your bike riding skills, right? But then eventually you're going to have to get off the bike. You get off the bike for a little bit, you chill, and then you get back on the bike, and you kind of relearn how to ride again after not riding for so long, right? Like that's kind of how I see like the healing journey, because it is cyclical. I come back around to like the same lessons over and over and over. And Ram Dass, who is like my spirit animal, I freaking love Ram Dass, but he always says like, this is a beginner's course. Like this is the beginner's course. And people would be like, you say that like at every talk for years now, like when are we going to go on to like the next phase of the course, the advanced course? And he was like, if there was an advanced course, then we wouldn't be here on this earth right now. Like it's always the basics. It's always like, that's why, trust me, I know when I tell you, like, I am a complicated person. Okay. I have Mercury in Scorpio, Mars in Scorpio. My brain makes things so complicated. Like I will miss the obvious and like the common sense stuff most of the time because I'm so used to thinking so deeply that I like miss what's right in front of me, And so it can be very easy to complicate our problems and to complicate our spiritual blocks and our healing. And I'm talking about healing and all that because this is Saturn and Pisces, like hello. But it can be very easy to complicate it all and get lost in all of the different things, right? But really, it's always simple. Like if you look back through your life, when you've made the most change in your life, when it's finally clicked for you, when you've finally gotten it, it likely was something that everybody around you was probably telling you for like years, but it didn't click until it clicked, right? And so it's like, that's what I mean. The answer is always freaking simple. The answer to all of your perceived problems it's always simple. It's always some kind of simple answer that it's like, how did I miss that? But our minds are so complex and we make our problems feel so complex that we're like, the answer cannot be this simple. Okay. It's got to be more complex. Like I'm missing some really like deep, complicated code that I have to crack. And it's like, no, you're not. It's very, very simple. Okay. This is the beginner's course. And welcome back. We're healing, we're releasing, we're purging. Plus there's a Pisces lunar eclipse this week as well. So double Pisces energy this week. Saturn's coming back here to say, but have you really released it all? Have you really come into acceptance with and come into a good place with forgiveness in your life, with your spiritual faith, with your hope, with, you know, that dark night of the soul that you went through over the last couple years? Have you really gotten to a place where you've shed old beliefs that no longer serve you, old conditioning that's no longer helping you on your path? Have you really done the emotional shifting and the energetic work and the emotional intelligence work and the healing work? And do you really trust? Do you really trust? Because that's what Pisces is about. Pisces is like, I don't need a plan because I have the divine living within me. Pisces is expansion from the inside out. Jupiter ruled. I'm a traditional astrologer, by the way, but Jupiter ruled, right? Jupiter's other sign, Sag, expansion from the outside, the physical, from the journey, from the, fire, the taking action, expansion through action, expansion through expression. Pisces is like taking that and going inward. Pisces, that's why Pisces, it's a fish, it runs away. It avoids, it's like, or it just goes around, because we're going with the flow, not against it. And so Saturn is here in Pisces to teach us where we create or have these internal blocks or these really heavy doubts or really heavy energetic issues. Almost like the way I see Saturn in Pisces is like monsters. Like I remember I had like a little bit of a psychedelic ceremony last year, and it was like, I can't remember what exactly was. I think either the moon was in Virgo opposite Saturn. I can't remember, but Saturn was very involved that day in the astrology, Saturn and Pisces. And I remember that experience scared the living shit out of me. It was definitely one of my more creepy experiences, because I was just seeing all kinds of like creatures that just looked crazy. And they're just like, the vibes were really freaky, and it kind of had me facing a lot of like the sense of hopelessness, and that can really come up with the Pisces energy as well. It really was all about the sense of hopelessness that I felt at the time, that it really pushed me to move through and face. And so I feel like I see Saturn and Pisces as like, whatever you believe, it can be real. There's been so many things over the last couple of years that have come out that have been proven true or factual that like we once all thought would never happen, or we once all thought that's a myth or that's not true, like aliens. Okay, like, aliens in the ocean, Saturn and Pisces, like it's like, anything that you believe is really how you're like, it can come true, because we are the creators. We have source, the divine living within us. And so Saturn in Pisces is like, are you aligned with your spiritual mission, your spiritual purpose? Are you aligned with your intuition, your spiritual beliefs, your faith? Where do you have something heavy weighing on you, or weighing on your vibe, weighing on your energy, that you need to reflect on and come back to and really do some releasing on? So Saturn in Pisces is really like this sense of devotion again to the unseen, to our soul, to the divine, to our healing journeys, to our spiritual essence, to the things that help us to be more divinely tapped in our lives, but also showing us our spiritual dilemmas, our suffering that causes kind of the opposite effect, where we detach or resist the divine and divine experience, and we kind of disconnect and we spiral downward. And we get lost in the vast sea of nothingness and grayness, and forget the magic of being here, and forget the magic of being a soul on this earth and having a spiritual mission or a spiritual, purpose. And so that is Saturn retrograding back into Pisces. Whatever house you have Pisces in can tell you a bit more about the themes you may notice personally for you, but it's so much more than that. And that's why I kind of don't always like doing sign horoscopes, because you also want to look at where you have Jupiter in your chart. You want to look at where you have your own Saturn in your chart. You want to look at all of these different things, what it's aspecting, all of that. So anyways, so Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces right on September 1st. And we'll have the next few months with Saturn and Pisces hashing out our spiritual dilemmas and any dilemmas that we have with our faith, with trusting, with letting go, with healing, with whatever the case may be, wherever this is happening in your chart. And, this is it, because once Saturn moves back into Aries, it's on. this, like, next year is, again, numerology, next year is the one. So next year, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Saturn and Neptune move into Aries, and Saturn moves into Aries for good next year. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence with it being Aries. Like, Aries is the one. It's like, I am the one, I am here, I am ready, like, let's go. Next year is really, I think, where we really start truly seeing the new paradigm of our lives, of the world, start to happen and start to be created. And it's like we can focus on the creation, and we can focus on the, what we can do to create the world that we want to see and to create the paradigms that we want to see. Or we can focus on all of the things that we don't like, all of the things that are falling away, all of the things that are missing, all of the things, which then it's like your energy, you're putting your energy into a void, and it never becomes returned to you. But when you start focusing and you shift that energy and you start investing your energy, which is another big intuitive kind of feeling I had about September, is like being a lot more picky about where you're investing your time, energy, money, all of that, your attention. But when you invest your energy actually towards the world that you create, that you want to see, the world that you want to believe in, Pisces, because what you believe is real. Saturn is about reality, and Pisces, it's like what we imagine, what we believe, what we dream, what we have faith in, what we put energy into, that's what's real. And I know this because I literally just had a awakening, another wake the fuck up moment, a huge lesson, a huge code that kind of dropped in, where I realized, if you've been following my videos for the last several months now, I've talked a lot about last year and how last year was a really hard year for me, and I had this like quantum crumble, and I've had this like kind of block to posting on Instagram because of that. And I finally I've been showing back up on my Instagram lately, and I went to post a video about last year, and in making that video, I kind of realized that like what I saw as a quantum crumble last year was not even a quantum crumble. Like, it was literally an illusion. A quantum crumble is an illusion. It was all what I was making so many of the things that were happening mean. And I made it mean all of these like really terrible things in my mind. But if I actually take a step back and I look at the actual physical things that happened last year in my actual physical life and my actual reality, none of them were like that bad. None of them were really bad. It was like what I made it all mean in my mind. Like, I was living internally in this reality, but it didn't actually match my physical reality looking back on it now. And we do this so much of the time, where we think like our life is falling apart because maybe we're going through a breakup, or we're going through a divorce, or we're moving, or we like are getting a new job or have to quit our job. And it's like, no, that doesn't mean that your life is crumbling. It just means that you're creating space for something new to be created. It can either be the best thing that's happened to you, or it can be the worst thing. It's all what we make it mean. It's all the meaning that we give it looking back on our lives, and trying to put certain experiences into boxes of like, oh, this was bad and this was good. But I'm sure even if you look back on your life, that you've had things happen to you that you once thought were really bad and really shitty. And then you realize now, looking back, now that you've, grown, matured, whatever, you realize looking back that like, oh my gosh, thank the universe that freaking happened, because that actually ended up being really, really bomb for me in the long run, right? And so anyway, but I realized recently that all of that perception I had about last year was literally not even true. It was literally an illusion. And it's what I made things mean. And so it just feels like I've broken free from all of that finally, because I've had that revelation about all of it. It doesn't feel like this heavy burden I've been carrying. And that's another thing. Saturn and Pisces. What burdens are we carrying that are affecting us spiritually, emotionally, energetically from the past that we need to resolve, that we need to forgive, that we need to have compassion for, that we need a reality check on, where it's like, yo, it's really not that bad. You've probably been through way worse. And not to like dismiss your pain, because you do still have to grieve. You do still have to feel what you're feeling. I'm not telling you to bypass your feelings, or that your feelings aren't real, because your feelings are real. But I think it's all about what we make it mean. And that's where the feelings kind of come in, because our feelings attach to the thoughts of what we're making it mean. I went through an internal shift, and I started making it mean that I was going through a quantum crumble again, and it was all going to fall apart. And then because I believed that so much, then I started convincing myself that I didn't have the same energy and I couldn't show up in the same energy. And because I was trying to cling to the perceived identity that I had at the time. But it's really like our identity is unconditional. And so whatever perception I had of my identity at the time, I was trying to cling to. And then I also had the perception of like, oh, I'm not as spiritually tapped in now because I'm going through this crumble. So I can't really help people as much and as powerfully. So I have to take a step back. And then in taking a step back, I held even more guilt and more shame and more of a burden over myself, because then I made that mean that I failed and that I let myself down, and that the commitment that I made to myself, to my dreams, was completely destroyed. Instead, now I look back and I'm like, alignment is a priority to me. And regardless of what was happening, I wasn't really in alignment, because I was making these things mean all these things instead of just showing up and authentically and accepting I was going through a season of change and I was shedding one identity. And instead of allowing myself to shed that and embrace the next iteration of where I was going, I tried to cling. And I made it mean all of these different things. But I'm glad that I took a step back, because I wasn't in alignment at the time, and I didn't want to share or help anyone from that place, because that is a priority to me, that I'm living by my own teachings, that I'm living by my own codes, that I'm in integrity. It's a big deal for me. And so I'm not mad that I took a step back. And see, we do this to ourselves too, where like we get into these conflicts where, because like I was mad I took a step back, but I also knew that that was kind of the only choice that I felt like I really had. So like I knew that I couldn't keep going, but I was also mad that I took a step back. So it's like we corner ourselves, and then it's like, and then carry the guilt and shame because we've cornered ourselves. Like I basically created just like a zero-sum game for myself, where it was like I didn't really have many other options, because I didn't give myself many other options. And then I'm mad at myself that I didn't give myself any other option, or not that I didn't. I'm mad at myself for choosing what I chose with the options I thought I had, and guilting myself for it, when it's like, do you see what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense, but we do this all the time. So anyway, so that is Saturn and Pisces. So get ready for Big Daddy Saturn to be coming back through your house, whatever house you have Pisces in. Now, moving on to the next thing. On the 2nd, we have Mercury moving into Virgo. And first off, let's talk about this, because this is really, really a cool transit that I'm looking forward to. I really, really, really love Mercury in Virgo, because Mercury in Virgo is not only at home in Virgo, since it rules Virgo, but it is exalted in Virgo. And so this is Mercury's jam. Okay. So thinking, discerning, really getting shit organized, getting shit done, moments of clarity, organizing our minds and our physical realities is going to come a lot smoother, a lot more efficiently, a lot easier. We're going to make things very simple, okay? And again, everything's simple. The answer is always simple. And Mercury in Virgo is literally like teaching us this. Everything gets to be simple. It's really not, it doesn't have to be complicated. If you're complicating it, you're doing it. It's not that it's complicated, it's that you're complicating it. Because you're either not giving yourself many options, or you're telling yourself it needs to go this way, and you have certain expectations, and you have certain attachments to how it's all happening, and you're afraid, whatever. But Mercury in Virgo really helps us get our shit together. Mercury in Virgo helps us think more clearly. It helps us really, really buckle down on all the little areas in our lives, all the little leaks in our lives. Like the way that I see Mercury in Virgo is like, if our boat has been leaking and those leaks are now starting to lead to bigger problems, this is where we start patching up those leaks. And in doing so, we start cleaning shit the fuck up. We get any water that doesn't need to be in the boat out of the boat. We start, like Mercury and Virgo, like Virgo rules the digestive system, right? So it's about sorting things out. And so, Virgo being right on the, like right around the time of like the harvest, right? So it's like what comes with us into the fall and winter and what goes, what's of value, what isn't, where am I investing my time and energy into, where do I not want to do that anymore? So this is really getting clear on what our priorities are, what is of value to us in the area that we have Virgo in our charts, and what we want to do with these things. So it's like really getting clear on like, this needs to go, this needs to stay. And finally thinking clearly about these things and thinking from a grounded perspective of what's real and what's in the moment, and what is going to be the most bang for our buck, pretty much. Like, what's the most efficient way to do this thing. And so Mercury in Virgo is really helping us say no to certain things and yes to other things. It's really helping us to rearrange our lives, rearrange our shit, and get shit working smoothly again. And so this is going to be really, really, really good for this. Now, on top of that, though, specifically, right as Mercury moves into Virgo on the 2nd, it is going to square Uranus, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately, not because it's a bad thing necessarily. Like, there are really awesome things that can come with this. Like, I mean, the Sun and Virgo square Uranus transit, I feel like was badass. It was definitely a lot of upgrades and shifting. And I think that this can also happen with this. But there may be some downsides to it as well, but that I'll go over too. But, like, this is going to kind of be like a lightning bolt within our minds, within our perception. It's like we are like a lot of mental breakthroughs, a lot of downloads, a lot of like having these moments of really sharp and intense clarity that can hit us out of nowhere. So this is kind of the good part of this, the more positive part of this. It can definitely be a massive change in our perception, a massive change in how we've been thinking about things and how we're going about things. So that is kind of the good part of it. It's like, you know, the way that I kind of see this is like, you know, maybe getting some kind of higher guidance, higher wisdom, higher breakthrough, and then having the tools and the resources to be able to organize it or rearrange it or sort it out in a way and bring it down to earth. I kind of see this as like, in a lot of ways, like what I do here, like what I always say and what I do here astrologically on my channel, like I bring the cosmos down to earth. I see this as like bringing some kind of higher wisdom, higher intelligence down to earth and creating like a strategy out of it or a framework out of it or, you know, something physical out of it that organizes it in some way. Now, on the other end of this, though, this can definitely be something very distracting. So maybe plans kind of shifting or changing or being uncertain, like a wrench being kind of thrown in our plans. Like maybe we had a plan to do something or a plan to be somewhere at like a certain time. And then we're kind of like, oh shit, you know, there's something that's been kind of, there's something that's kind of changed in the plan in some way, shape, or form. This can also be, again, distraction. It's like maybe we have something very physical that we have to do. We have certain tasks, errands, things that we need to do with Mercury and Virgo, but Uranus and Gemini comes in and it's like we can't think straight or we can't focus or something it keeps distracting us or it feels very loud and chaotic or confusing or uncertain or there's something disrupting things. This can also be issues with technology, issues with, you know, something that we need to use for something or some kind of technological device that we need to use for something. And then there's some kind of issue with it or some kind of, you know, uncertainty with it or disruption with it. Now, other than that, what is really good about this is that it is like a change in perspective and it is kind of pushing us to become flexible, adaptable, kind of grounding in our reality and in the here and now and not needing everything to work out exactly as we expect all the time and becoming adaptable to change, becoming adaptable to disruptions, becoming adaptable to things not going our way and actually seeing, not only that, but actually seeing these challenges, seeing these disruptions, seeing these distractions or changes as opportunities for us to actually grow, opportunities that actually end up upgrading us and our perspective and are the resources at our disposal in terms of our mindset, in terms of our perspective, in terms of, you know, our actual physical resources, etc. as well. This can also be breaking a pattern of things that you've been giving your focus and your attention to that are just no longer doing it for you, you know, like things that are, it's like, oh my gosh, I've been giving my attention to scrolling all day or to this thing that's like mindless and it's not helping me improve my life and it's taking me away from the goals that I have and the things that I want to do and the, you know, kind of life I want to live and the habits that I want to have, etc. Right. So this can also be like a massive breakthrough or like a breakdown of old patterns that are no longer working for us, old ways of doing things or perceiving things or habits that we're just fed up with. And this can be a really, really, really great energy that is kind of like the breaking point of that. It's like, okay, I'm done doing things this way. I'm done, giving my attention to these distractions that are not helping me improve or move my life forward. Because after all, Virgo is also about improvement because it wants things to be efficient and run smoothly and, be effective and useful. Virgo's also about improvement. So making the small tweaks and making the small changes that actually create really big breakthroughs and really big results. Again, it can be very easy to look over the small, simple solutions in life. And this is what Virgo's about. But patching up those simple things and making it very freaking easy can literally create quantum leaps in our life. It can literally create upgrades to our lives and to what we want and to ourselves that we weren't even expecting. So small, simple tweaks and changes can create really, really drastic changes at this time. So just keep that in mind. So that's happening on the 2nd, but we'll likely be feeling it on the 1st, 2nd, maybe even 3rd. And then on the 4th, we're going to have Mars coming into its square with Jupiter and Cancer. So Mars is in Libra. And Jupiter's in Cancer. And Jupiter squares are not usually as challenging or edgy as other planets. Just because it is Jupiter, it's the most benefic planet. So a lot of the times with Jupiter squares, they don't always create necessarily tension or conflict, or if it is somewhat a bit of tension or conflict, it is more so for our growth, and we can feel that. And this is kind of one of those times I feel. So, Jupiter in Cancer is like evolving through kind of old attachments, old emotional conditioning of the home and the family, really evolving past old patterns, old ancestral old ancestral karma, old lineage patterns, old family patterns. Like Jupiter in Cancer really wants to kind of evolve in terms of home, family, safety, security, and let go of old attachments that are no longer serving us. And this is what I've really noticed so far with Jupiter in Cancer. Really seeing where things have maybe been, like where there's been some old residue in terms of Cancerian energy, feminine energy, emotional energy, home and family, safety, attachment, parenting, etc. And Mars in Libra is very much like, okay, Mars in Libra is trying to resolve conflict, but potentially through a bit of a different way, through maybe a more assertive way. And so Mars in Libra can definitely be somewhat controversial and bring up, all of these different perspectives and sides and face us with these things so that we can resolve conflicts. And this can happen outside of us too, where we start noticing the tension in relationships that, where we're trying to keep things down just to keep the peace, or where we're avoiding truth, or with Jupiter and Cancer, even intimacy. And so Mars squaring Jupiter, I feel like, is going to look like kind of growth or evolution or expansion via relationships or via others in some way, shape, or form. I think that this could definitely be like like challenging our perspective, showing us a different side of something that kind of expands us internally or evolves us emotionally in some way, shape, or form. Now, I think on the other side of this, if this does come up as kind of tension for you or conflict for you, then it could be that there is an emotional situation or a family situation or a situation that you have certain attachments to. But at the same time, you're trying to go about it in a Libran way by being kind of classy and, understanding the other person's side, or not rocking the boat, or trying to keep the peace in a situation. And so this can be like kind of something going on with relationships and something going on with family that just kind of really boils over here. And it could be a good thing. I think overall it may be a necessary thing, like something needed, like something's been kind of brewing or unspoken or not really talked about for a while, and then now it's like, no, we're going to talk about this, or no, this needs to come up so that it can be kind of purged, or so it can be cleansed, or we're not going to just keep playing like, everything's fine and everything's normal when it's not, kind of thing. Now, I could also kind of see this as, I just had something else come to me, but I feel like I kind of lost it. Also, emotional intelligence. Can you be, like, I think this could bring up the topic of vulnerability in relationships, and emotional intelligence in relationships, safety and security within relationships, family, parenthood within relationships. Jupiter wants to grow on the home and family front, but to do that, we've got to feel safe, we've got to feel secure, we have to feel like we are able to grow out of past fears and insecurities regarding home, safety, family, foundation, our roots. And so, that was the other thing I was going to say. Another thing could be that maybe you have changed in the home and family front. Maybe you have been making changes where something has been growing, like you've been growing in certain areas where maybe you're not going to allow someone to be super codependent on you anymore. You're not going to, baby your family anymore. You're not going to be overly attached to outcomes or needing to save them or pick up after them anymore, or clean up all their problems or messes anymore. And some situation comes up where that growth that you've experienced is now tested, and it's like, a family member comes to you and they're like, oh my God, I have this drama and I need you to do something about it. And you have to basically confront that, hey, I'm not going to do that. I'm not the same person anymore. And maybe like draw that line, or, really embody and show and mirror that boundary. And you can do it, like the thing with this square is that you can be classy about it. Mars in Libra, you can draw a line in a classy way, and in a way that feels fair for not just you, but maybe even the other person. It's like sometimes with Libra, the best thing that we do for ourselves ends up actually being the right thing for everybody else. And when we take the power away from trying to micromanage their perspective or their perception or their feelings or whatever, and we just make the decision that feels the truest and like the truth for us, then things can grow and evolve past where they've been, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm seeing with this Mars and Jupiter square. I really do think that this could also really just be like growth and opportunity for emotional expansion, because again, like squares and even oppositions are not always like, they don't always come across as like something really tense and edgy that's going on in our lives. Sometimes it's like they light a fire under our ass and we're like, you know what? And we just feel this internal shift of like, you know what? Like I'm done and I'm doing something about it. Boom, or we, finally face something that we've been putting off, or we finally deal with something that we've been avoiding, so it can play out like that as well. So, but I really do think the evolution and growth and expansion, through relationships or through safe spaces or through intimate or vulnerable emotional connection can really, really, really be expansive here for people. So last but not least, on the 7th, which is this Sunday, we're going to have the Pisces Lunar Eclipse happening here. And it's going to be very, very close to the node when it happens. So it's going to be a pretty powerful eclipse, and an eclipse that's very close to the node. So it's pretty much a full-blown eclipse here. So this is a really powerful one. And Pisces full moons in general, like even when they're just full moons, are just usually just so beautiful around this time of year, because they really bring up the interconnectedness of everything that's been going on in our lives. They kind of show us how, oh yeah, you may think that you have these different things going on, or, whatever, but they're actually all connected. And it's usually a time of releasing whatever burdens we've been carrying, releasing whatever emotional or energetic, kind of knots that we've been walking around with, and learning to trust again, learning to let go again, learning to have faith again, coming back to a sense of wholeness within, and with things going on in our lives so that we can move forward in a more productive way, with like, the sun being in Virgo. And I really feel like, this Pisces lunar eclipse is really no different. It's just a more powerful version of that. So really trust in the unknown. I really think that that's going to be a huge topic that gets brought up. Can you trust in the uncertainty? Can you trust in your belief and your faith? Even when all the evidence isn't right there in front of you, or even when you don't have all the answers figured out just yet, especially with the opposition to, Virgo. It's like, even when you don't have, a step-by-step plan or a step-by-step formula or a book on how to do XYZ, or even when the evidence isn't right in front of your face that it's happening, but you feel that it's happening with the Pisces energy, can you still trust? Can you still surrender to, the divine, surrender to your faith, surrender to your beliefs, surrender to your dreams? And so with this Pisces lunar eclipse, it's really like coming back to remembering, again, your divinity, your soul's purpose, your dreams, your spirituality, your divine mission, your magic, your sense of limitlessness and interconnectedness to the interconnectedness of you and your life. And can you go within? This Pisces lunar eclipse is going to be such a good event to do some kind of ritual for, or to have some kind of manifestation practice for, to come back to a sense of your emotional intelligence and release any stuck emotion. Do some kind of detox around this time. It could be like a spiritual detox as well. This Pisces lunar eclipse, it's going to be just such a dreamy, psychedelic kind of time. It looks like a really beautiful, beautiful eclipse, and it's going to be also trining Jupiter and Cancer. And so, which Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces. So Jupiter rules this eclipse. So this eclipse is going to be trining its ruler and just helping us feel that much more expansive, realizing that our home is within, safety is within, and to kind of realign with the divine plan, to realign with believing in miracles, to realign with trusting in something bigger than ourselves. That's what Pisces is really about, to being prepared to explore the inner and unseen realms again, and realigning with that, remembering that, coming back to that. The lunar eclipse shines a massive light on things and brings us back to things. And, for some people, you could also see, if you've been using certain habits, or if you've been using certain substances or other things to escape, this could be a time where you realize that and you quit, and you break through that. Eclipses are a really great time to quit old habits, to quit things that are no longer working for us, to let go of whatever is holding us back spiritually in our lives. And so it could also be, this time is going to be very, very psychic. So really pay attention to synchronicities this week, messages from your subconscious, your dreams. ChatGPT, by the way, the main thing that I use ChatGPT for is dream interpretation, because I am a huge, huge dreamer. And sometimes my dreams, there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, yeah, I got the message. There's other times where I'm like, what the hell? That felt really important and really weird and really abnormal. I have no idea what that means. And you type it into ChatGPT and it will break it down so beautifully for you. So it's almost been a way for me to communicate with my subconscious, to keep this open line of communication with my subconscious, to really be able to interpret my dreams. And so this is a really, really great time to really pay attention to your dreams, your intuition, anything, spiritual, anything that has been trying to get your attention in the spirit world. This Pisces lunar eclipse is going to illuminate for us. So it's going to be a really beautiful time for that. And yeah, and then that's basically it for this week ahead. Let me know down below if you're still with me, if you stayed until here. Comment down below, sexy alien. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for hanging out with me, for sticking with me. Let me know what you got from the video, what your favorite parts were, what spoke to you the most down below. I always love to hear feedback about that. You guys have just been so supportive and amazing, and I really just appreciate every single one of you for watching this video. Thank you. Also, if I almost forgot this till just now, but if you if you're feeling like I'm going to need some help navigating this, or I just want to get more clear on what's going on with my life right now, or what's going on with me, you want to get a reading with me, etc., for whatever you want, really. You know, if you're like, I'm on the edge of something, I feel it, or I'm about to go through a massive change, what do I do? What's my next step? Like, you know, all that, I got you. I do have readings open. You can book a reading down below in my description. So definitely do that if you're feeling the pull, and trust the pull. Also, I have a couple spaces for one-on-one coaching opening back up in September. Well, I guess we are in September, but this month. So if you are interested, definitely also reach out to me down in the links below. You'll just go to the same link as my readings and then scroll down to the bottom, and it'll say like apply for a consultation for one-on-one coaching, and we just hop on like a 30-minute free call and talk about what I offer and all of that, what I think would be best for you, make sure that we're a good fit, all of that. So if you're interested in that, I also have that available. And yeah, follow me on Instagram because I'm posting over there now. I am back, biatches. I'm going on a huge trip this week and I'm so excited. I've like really kind of thought about sharing my personal journey lately, like more of like a vlog style video. Let me know if anybody would be interested in that, because I feel like, you know, usually like I go through these like massive up level portals, and I'm like literally on the verge of one right now. And it's like already happening, but I usually like, you know, I go through them and I share insights from them and stuff like on my Instagram or in these videos, but I never really show like the process or like the real behind the scenes process of it. And so I thought it might be really cool to kind of record that this time and talk more deeply about the things that I've realized that kind of have shifted me out of the kind of, you know, healing portal I was in, where I was kind of more focused on the past and struggling to like let go of last year and struggling to like let go of all that stuff, and to where I'm now finally letting go of all that and moving into like the next phase and the next up level phase that I'm going through. So let me know if that's something you would be interested in. I am thinking about like adding in some new content to my channel. So anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, you sexy badass aliens, and I will see you guys in my next one.